NASCAR's return to the Oval in Indianapolis saw some questionable calls on the racetrack with officiating, and did NASCAR give this victory to Hendrick Motorsports and Kyle Larson?
High, push it, checker flag, hell yeah!
What's the caution for? Me?
Can I not push it in?
Stop anybody.
Come on, he's going! Way to go, boys! One hell of a job, man, one hell of a job! Thank you so much.
NASCAR returns to the Oval in Indianapolis, and we just see questionable call, questionable ruling, questionable officiating, and controversy throughout. Welcome on into Shifting Gears. I am Alan Bailey. Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of these and see the points that a lot of fans are making, but I'm still kind of scratching my head going, guys, this is Indianapolis. NASCAR, what were you doing? What's happening? What is going on? Before we break it all down, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video. And of course, log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way right out of the bat. Kyle Larson wins the 2024 Brickyard 400. There's a lot behind this. There's a lot to unpack here, but it's his fourth victory of 2024. It happens on the 30th anniversary of NASCAR first racing at the Brickyard. Hendrick Motorsports goes back to victory lane on the 30th anniversary of this win. It's another victory for Hendrick Motorsports at the Brickyard, and it comes in a year where Kyle Larson attempted to do the double where he runs the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day, but because of weather pushing back the start of the Indy 500 and weather, frankly, ending the Coca-Cola 600 just a little past halfway, Kyle Larson only runs the Indy 500 and not the Coke 600 at all, essentially only doing one race, and there's still a lot of controversy behind that call and his playoff waiver for that, but it ultimately meant that Kyle Larson never got to run the paint scheme that he won with out at Indianapolis today in the Coca-Cola 600. So I thought it was actually pretty cool that he gets to come back to Indianapolis and attempt to do, frankly, the thing he tried to do in the Indy 500, and that's win at the Brickyard, and he was able to do that today. There's no question in my mind he was going to win this race. As soon as we got that restart with about 20 or so to go, I honestly saw him coming and went, that's the guy who has the most fuel, who is coming, who has the faster car. Everybody in front of him is saving, and their fuel is in question. Big question, making it to the end, let alone the overtime. And he was just pushing, and he was going out there running sub 51s, I think, sub 52s, and was really pushing that car. Clearly the fastest car right there at the very end was Kyle Larson. So yes, I do think he won this race fair and square. Let's talk about the questionable calls. A lot of people were extraordinarily confused by the Brad Keselowski thing. So if you didn't watch the race, Brad Keselowski was leading the race when we went into a green-white checkered. And he didn't have enough fuel. Now, if I'm Brad Keselowski and I am a Ford man, which he is claiming to be, if I'm somebody who wants to see Ford in victory lane, as an owner, the thing I would have done is pull off the track immediately. If I know I'm not going to make it and I want to be out of the way, pull off the track immediately. Don't wait until we're coming off of Ford to the green to pull off with the pace car, because ultimately, what's that going to get you? It's going to get absolutely nothing. I'm looking at Ryan Blaney, if I'm Brad Keselowski, thinking, I'm not going to win. Now my job is to make sure that this other Ford driver does win, or at least give him the best shot to win. And what did we ultimately see? I would argue Brad Keselowski screwed Roger Penske and Ryan Blaney out of this victory. No, he doesn't owe anything to Roger. No, he doesn't owe anything to Ryan Blaney. But he does owe a lot to Ford, and Ford executives, I'm sure, are not too happy at Brad Keselowski right now and in the coming weeks, because ultimately, I'm not saying Brad took away the win from Ford, but he made it significantly harder, leaving Ryan Blaney on the outside. Ryan Blaney, thinking Keselowski was going to run out of fuel, chooses the outside on that choose rule, and ultimately is screwed, frankly, because when Brad Keselowski comes down pit road, it moves the inside line up. This is a rule that has been in NASCAR for probably the better part of 40 years now, I want to say. Ever since we went to the double foul restarts, actually, is when this rule came into effect. It feels like it's been 40 years because it's been common knowledge in the garage area. Basically, whenever a car pulls off, runs out of fuel, has an issue. Or even at the beginning of the race when a driver has to go to the back for an unapproved change, missing the driver's meeting, whatever that is to go to the back, it moves the inside or the outside lane forward, and it doesn't advance your position. It'd be too chaotic to try to figure out, okay, Ryan, you were second, now you're first, now the third place car moves to the outside, now the fourth place car on the outside moves to the inside. It's complete chaos. The simplistic way to do it is simply move that line forward, which essentially gives Kyle Larson the preferred line going into turn one. If I'm Brad Keselowski, if I pull off before that, then ultimately it means that Ryan Blaney can choose that inside line, that front row, because he only chose the outside to get away from Brad, who we all knew was going to run out of fuel. Now, why do that? Why did essentially Brad Keselowski screw Roger Penske and Ryan Blaney out of this? I don't know. Honestly, he claims to be a company Ford man. He claims to be a big fan of Roger Penske. I think there's still a little bit of bad blood there, honestly, between Brad Keselowski and Roger Penske, because Keselowski wanted to be partial owner of Team Penske. He wanted to have more of a say in personnel and things going on behind the scenes, and Roger Penske flat out said no. And I think Brad has a little resentment about that, maybe. He still has a lot of appreciation for Roger. There's no question in my mind about that. But at the same time, I think Brad Keselowski would rather see Kyle Larson and Hendrick Motorsports win over Roger Penske for whatever reason. And it's just fascinating to me. It wasn't a gift from NASCAR. It's just the rules, and I know a lot of people are still confused over that, but it's been like this since we went to the double file restart system for many years now, so we all just kind of have to accept it. It was a bad call on Brad's part, honestly, but considering they all wadded it up in turn one on that restart, I don't think it was that bad of a move. It did allow him to put 4 fresh tires on and battle back through the field, try to get what he could get, but it's not a victory, and honestly, you have to look at this race as it's either win or bust, and it doesn't really matter where you finish if you don't win. Now, the big controversy, the pit road exit policy. Ever since NASCAR has gone to Indianapolis and they had the access road was put into Indianapolis specifically for the NASCAR Cup Series when they went there in the 90s, started going there in 94, I should say. And this rule has been in effect pretty much since the 90s. It's not new, and Indy cars have a very similar rule. There's lines painted on the apron of the racetrack, clearly noting where the apron is, clearly noting what is the access road, what is not, and drivers have frankly pushed that bound for a very long time. Joey Logano did in 2020, and NASCAR didn't call him on that for whatever reason. A lot of drivers through 1 and 2 want to take that wide swing in order to get as much speed through that area as they can going down the backstretch for an advantage. I get it. I understand. But there's literally lines painted on the racetrack. NASCAR vaguely describes it in an email that they sent out last night to all the drivers to stay out of the racing line. Now, that frankly, ultimately through 1 and 2 means stay out of the lane against the outside safer barrier. That is it's inaccurate. It's a frankly very poor way to phrase it. If I'm NASCAR, you need to clearly say, no, you need to stay off of the racing surface. You need to stay below this line and show a picture of where that line is. It's a very clear black and white call that NASCAR made gray for whatever reason. And frankly, that's on whoever sent that email, competition director, the intern who did it on behalf of the competition director, whomever sent that email out and put that verbiage in there, failed at their job. There's no way around it. And I'm not saying they need to be fired. I'm saying they need to come out and own that and simply say, yeah, we could have made that clear. That's our bad. Even Bob Pockers tweeted out the video from the drivers' meeting describing it, and it literally cuts off. It literally switches to another camera angle when it gets to that area of the racetrack. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe that's frankly NASCAR thinking the rule is already clear and they don't need to say it out loud, but this is NASCAR racing. You need to say it out loud. In motorsports, in competition, you never, ever assume that competitors know what you're thinking, and that's essentially what happened here. And I do think that the verbiage needs to be a little bit clearer. I like the fact that that access road is there. I like the fact that NASCAR makes the cars stay on that access road until the exit of turn 2 on the back straightaway. I think it makes the absolute most sense. Personally, I'd like to see more pavement down the backstretch, more of an access road to allow these teams a little bit more runoff and make the racetrack a little bit wider to make it a little bit safer with the slower cars on the inside that are just coming off of pit road. But I don't think it's a dire need. It's me nitpicking, frankly, the rules a little bit, but I think that NASCAR did make the right call penalizing Chase Elliott. He clearly went outside that line, and I know Elliott fans are screaming and yelling and really pissed off, and Chase Elliott's really pissed off, but these are the rules. This is black and white, and NASCAR should have made it more clear, and for whatever reason, they didn't. The other controversy was the finish of this race. You had Ryan Preece come to a stop on the back straightaway. NASCAR saw this. They gave him ample opportunity to try to get it back going. Could NASCAR have thrown the caution before the white flag? Yes, but many drivers were tight on fuel. We had already gone into an overtime. NASCAR, in my opinion, made the attempt to finish this race under green. They red flagged the race to move the piece of wall right there at pit exit in order to get that back going again. And they just wanted to get this over with. Everybody wants to start their 2-week vacation already, which officially everybody essentially has at this point. And honestly, NASCAR attempted to let him get it going, and he didn't, and they had to throw the caution. Did they wait too long? Maybe. If you're a Ryan Blaney fan, then yes, they waited too long. If you're a Kyle Larson fan, no, it's absolutely fine. But let's be blunt, let's be honest here. If the race went back to a restart right there, and we got another attempt at a green-white checker, would Kyle Larson have been able to defend off against Ryan Blaney? Absolutely. Larson had the most fuel, and I question if Blaney was even going to make it at that point, honestly. Blaney himself came on the radio saying, yeah, they just screwed us out of this victory, and that was before the green-white checkers, so or the first green-white checkered, I should say. So it just, I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the race, honestly. We'll never know, but Kyle Larson is your 2024 Brickyard 400 champ, one way or another, no matter how you look at it, and no one's going to be able to take that away from him, pending post-race inspection, which, at the time of this recording, still hasn't been completed. Couple more shout-outs that I want to give, besides Hendrick Motorsports. Looking at the rest of the top 5, 5th through 10th, I'm actually really impressed with this order, the finishing order from Indianapolis. You have Bubba Wallace, who won Stage 2, needed those bonus points. He's doing all he can to help chip away at that points difference to make the postseason. Will he make it? We're going to find out in a few weeks here. You had Todd Gilliland, frankly, having an amazing run. Front Row Motorsports is going to start living up to that name next year, mark my words. You have Noah Gragson going over there with Todd Gilliland and a third yet-to-be-named driver. Watch out, they're fast. You have Austin Cindric, who has immense ties to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, coming home with a solid 7th-place finish. This is a great run for them. Will they be able to start building momentum into the postseason? We're going to have to wait to see. You have Daniel Suarez finishing 8th. He needed a really good finish. He hasn't had a whole lot of success since his win at Atlanta early on in the season, and this kind of builds momentum into this little 2-week break and into the postseason, hopefully for them. You have Noah Gragson in the 10 car coming home with a 9th-place finish. This guy does not have a whole lot of support financially with the sponsors, and Stewart-Haas Racing is, let's just say, not firing on all cylinders. I'm really hoping that some of the personnel from that 10 car can kind of move with him over to Front Row next year. We'll have to wait to see. And you have Chase Elliott, who battles back for a 10th place finish. Would he have a shot at the victory? No, putting it bluntly, no. Nobody was going to catch Kyle Larson right there at the very end. But I want to hear from you. What did you think of NASCAR's return to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you do not miss a video. And of course, make sure that you log on to arnrace.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. I've had a very long weekend. I was out at the Chino Derby this last weekend, so I am physically still recovering from covering that event in 110-degree weather. Shout out to everybody at Low Budget TV. Do a wonderful job. I had a great time with the boys this weekend, sincerely. And we're just going to keep continuing to put out videos over the course of this 2-week break for NASCAR. We have our new channel that has launched. The link is in the description below, where we're focusing on Pokemon and nerdy content and stuff like that. Check it out in the link below. Also, Team Chaos. We're putting out a lot of content with Team Chaos with the NASCAR Heat series, the mod career mode, as well as the NASCAR 24 series that's starting to ramp up, and I'm having fun with that as the first season of that is coming to an end very soon. So make sure that you check out all of the channels in the link down below, because there's some really great content coming up over the next few weeks. So for everybody here at Shifting Gears and the American Racing Network, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.